Good evening, everybody. I'm back from Newberrytown Church of God, and I'll read from James 1:19 through 21, and then I will pray with you to the Lord. It says, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Therefore, get rid of all moral filth and the evil that is so prevalent, and humbly accept the word planted in you, which can save you." And as we go to the Lord, you go to the Lord with me. Oh, Lord, Father in heaven, we know that you hear our prayers. We want to thank you for the continued protection of the first responders in this township. We ask for further protection, both of their physical bodies and their spiritual souls, Lord. We thank you for how you've brought the Redland baseball team, and we pray for their peace and safety as they travel. And all here, Lord, I lift them to you, that their hearts be drawn to you and near to you as they speak, as they listen. And even if there is anger, Lord, we know that you forgive it, but please, Lord, help them. Help them just be kind as they discuss township things. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Need your name and your address, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Janelle Yeager, and I'm a resident at 130 Conley Lane over in Edders, just around the corner. I'm here today to present a concern about the intersection, the only intersection to get from Conley Lane to Yoakumtown Road as a dangerous intersection. There are two major blind spots. One, there's a dip in the road that vehicles will disappear for 1 or 2 seconds. You can't see them until they're right up on you. And the other one is just the natural slope of the bank leading up to the road blocks view of oncoming traffic. And I'm here with several members from our community because this has been an ongoing concern. I found out that this was first presented to the board back in August of '96. And there are still concerns about it. So in an effort to keep things quick for the agenda, I have handouts with pictures of the intersections that you can see exactly where it is. It shows exactly where the oncoming traffic, where like the danger lies, and just some actual pictures of that show like where the dip in the road is, all of that. And so I'm here with my community in an effort to please hopefully get some safety measures implemented, because there have been accidents, and if we can do anything to make that better, we would be very grateful.
Dave, I went out there and looked. She called the one day I was here, and I think you talked to her on the phone. And I went out and looked myself, and Scott and I went and looked at it. If you pull up to the stop sign, you cannot see to the left. You have to pull past the stop sign, correct?
Yes.
Then sneak out to look to the left. It's not a problem if people are doing the speed limit. The problem, I think, occurs when they're flying down through there and you're trying to pull out. But what Scott and I saw, I think, if we could take the bank back just a little bit to the left, you could see the cars coming down the road. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Anything I saw the other day, I was looking at it again, anything I saw was a telephone pole pretty close to that area. We scraped dirt away from that bank, that pole might be an issue. So I'm in favor of looking into it for her, see what we can do.
Okay, well, we have to.
Tanya, if you turn right, going towards Yoakum Town, it's the first road on the right-hand side.
Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm here because I have several questions concerning a few items. First of all, the new building, and I don't doubt that we need the new building. I'm highly in agreement with that. However, I've been looking through the budget and trying to find where this money is coming from. I've looked at where that doesn't appear to be in the budget that's posted anyway. There doesn't appear to be a capital improvements or a capital fund where this money could be coming from. I know you're trying to get grants, but I'm not seeing where this money is coming from if you don't get the grants or the loans. And there has already been a sizable amount of money spent on the land improvements, and it appears as though the project has already been spelled out through the engineer and through Lobar, of which I didn't see, and correct me if I'm wrong, were there RFPs put out for contractors and engineering firms for this whole project? Because one of the criteria for one of the grants, which I think is called the Redevelopment Assistance grant, is that you have to have at least 3 bids, 3 contractors, before the grant's awarded. Plus you have, the complete bidding process has to be done, and the Prevailing Wage Act and all of those things. I don't see that was ever done, so I'm not sure how this bidding is occurring or how this project is moving ahead without doing that. That's one of my concerns.
If I could briefly, we've had several meetings over the past almost year.
Year and a half.
Yeah, so, and we had people in and we handed out stuff, but for your edification, it was bid under a state contract, and it's called Keystone Purchasing Network, KPN. And they go by region, and it's regional. We're in the south central region for Pennsylvania, so general contractors, HVAC, electrical contractors, they bid this job order contract system where they actually bid what each piece of material, whatever, they have to bid that, what it's going to be with, and they have what's called a multiplier. And so they went through all that, and Lobar Associates is the awarded contract in the KPN network for this region for general contracting. So the bidding is pre-done by the state in this KPN
So
process.
KPN is a state organization
It-
that doesn't require you to put anything else out for bid?
It's approved by the state and Department of General Services.
So they don't require you to go out and get 3 competitive bids
Be-
or RFPs for anything,
Because-
engineering or anything?
It's simplified, yes, because it's already been done. So they already had to compete and bid for this type of work and by region, and they were the low bidder. So, for the region, for the job order contracting.
So if there were 3 or 4 municipalities who bid on a project through this, they're all going to go to Lobar and say, hey, you're the low bidder for this, and we're all going to jump on the bandwagon.
But
So
they-
we may never get done.
They have the opportunity to do that. They can also do traditionally and just put it out with a traditional bidding process. So they do have the opportunity to use. And just for your, again, briefly, Helen Township just used this same process with Lobar and KPN to do their township building a year ago. So, I mean, it's not just something new. It's been around, and so a township has the opportunity to use it if they want it, or they can just.
So
if
it
they-
eliminates the RFPs for the building and the
the
construction.
cost of the RFP, the bidding,
cost
and
of the
everything.
RFPs.
So they are using prevailing wage, by the way. So it
Okay,
is.
they are using the
They
prevailing
have to
wage?
follow state.
So they have to
procurement.
follow all the state regulations as far as the Steel Procurement
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Act and
Yes.
all of those.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll check into that.
If
The
you want to,
RFPs
excuse me, if you want to, after a meeting, or shoot me an email, I
I'll
can
shoot
send.
you an email and we
I
can have a
send you some
meeting, because I have a
information.
lot more than 5 minutes is going to allow me
Right,
to
but
do
I
that.
can send you some information on
Okay,
the
that would
process.
be great. The next thing concerning the building is I didn't see in the minutes at reorganization who the building official, I mean, I know he's the building and zoning official, but who is the building inspection company? And I know at one point you had multiple companies. Are you still doing it that way? If so, are you doing it for residential? Did you opt in or out on the state, with the state for commercial and industrial buildings? Who will be doing the inspections for this building?
Marcus?
So they're doing they do both commercial, or all commercial, industrial, and residential in the township?
They do, and
Aero Engineering? Okay, they weren't in the minutes as being approved at the beginning of the year for, or appointed, let's say, and I didn't see an RFP that went out since the beginning of the year. So I'm just wondering who the inspectors were. Who are the inspectors for residential? Is it Commonwealth again, or do you do that?
it's either Commonwealth or Air, depending on who the building inspector.
Okay.
Do we have them for a set amount of time, or do we reward that every year? How's that work?
It's every year. Every year at reorganization, they're to be appointed. Building inspectors and zoning.
And you said you didn't see it?
I did not see it in the minutes for reorganization.
I'm not, that was my first meeting, so.
Okay, no,
I
it's
don't
not
remember
there.
I mean, we can check into that and see if it was,
It's not
certainly
there.
it's in the minutes, or.
I'm sure it's noted somewhere, so.
It's
they've
supposed to be,
been-
along with your zoning ordinance. Everybody that you appoint at reorganization is to be put in the minutes.
It's
Um,
been the
I
same
remember
people
a list
lot
of
of
things
years.
we
Yeah.
did, but I don't
Right, but it's
particularly
not there.
remember that one in particular.
So the final land development plan was approved in January of this year. And it said construction was going to start in September, but apparently we're behind schedule on that. So what is the anticipated construction time at this point?
We're waiting on bonds,
Grants?
grants.
Okay, which leads me to another question. The grant process, was that put out for RFPs for grant writers to submit proposals to write the grants? Because I see now there are 2 of those in the minutes.
I don't specifically know whether, we could find out whether bids were, or RFPs were sent out. However, those
Contracted
fall under
services.
professional services.
right.
And so there would not have needed to be bids for that particular service.
Right, but there's no communication in the minutes explaining how those 2 companies were derived at to give, and why. I guess my second question is then, why do we have 2 companies, both working on the same thing?
The
'Cause
first
what-
company was recommended by Helm Township. That's
Okay.
how we get the first one.
And they're on a retainer of apparently $5,000 a month.
Also, with Helm, they were too, yeah.
Yeah, and then this other one comes in and charges us as well. So
They charge us
where
what
does
they-
this?
They charge us about what they get, not by.
And what have we gotten for either one of them?
Well, as far as I know, nothing.
The first one, I don't think we got anything. We pay monthly on that one. The
And
second
when
one-
does that contract come to an end?
Is that a year? Is that what it was?
It's auto-renewed for 6 months, and it's up in August, but it can be canceled with a 30-day notice.
Notice.
At any time.
Because it seems to me we're spending an awful lot of money on that if we've not gotten anything, and we're not any further in the
Well,
game than we were.
The second firm is fee-based upon them getting us grants.
grant.
So we don't owe them anything if they don't get us a grant.
Right, which makes more sense than paying.
The first one, we're assessing that situation.
The first one is also working on grants for the police department. They're also working for grants for the fire departments. So-
For what, this is
We're
a
working on
emergency
retention.
services building.
Well, it
Retention,
has-
do
it
all
has
kind of
nothing.
grants.
She's working on grants other than the building.
okay, then,
She's working on grants for, possible grants for retention to help keep our volunteers. different programs that we can do for our volunteers in the fire department. She's working on grants for the police department for training aids and training and possible cars. She's working on
Well, I just think
half a
that
dozen or
in,
more grants at this point.
in the minutes, then it should be specified that they're not only just working for the building, they're doing other things. I mean, the minutes are pretty blank about what's happening here, and when you just sit down
We'll
and read
get,
the
we'll
minutes,
get you a list. How's that?
that'd be perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are the videos of the meetings on the website?
Yeah, every one of them.
So that should be very, I mean, it should have came up in the,
Okay, some of them, the ones that I've seen has not,
Mr.
and I couldn't
Chairman,
figure out what was going on.
ma'am, if I could, the grant writer was here in an open meeting and discussed, in an open meeting, it was transparent, and everybody, and then there was a vote, but she was here to take questions and by Zoom.
Okay.
And then, and like the supervisor said, she had obtained the RACP grant for Helm, so she was recommended. And to date, they have submitted 13 grants for the, one being the RACP for the building, but she's working on 13 total.
I would just think that that somewhere there would be a report of what she's doing for that $5,000 a month. And then my only other concern is I've seen in the minutes that you're looking at privatizing the sewer system. Was that looked into as far as forming an authority or putting it on a referendum or anything? Because that's a huge thing to take a sewage system and privatize it, and now it's out of the township's hands, it's into a private company, for-profit company. That's a huge issue that maybe the citizens need to be more involved in, maybe as a referendum or some public meetings telling the people that this is what's going to happen. Personally, I've been involved in that, and I know that it gets very, very ugly and can get very ugly. I've got 30 years' experience in municipal work, so that's how I come across a lot of these things. So I've been involved in a sewer. It was an authority, and it was a takeover by a privatization, and it turned it out very, very badly. So I just think the residents ought to know, and I think that maybe it should be a referendum, or there should be a lot more information than we're talking with so-and-so about such and such, and we're going to have, our sewer's going to be bought out by somebody.
well, we're currently taking bids, we're not
It's
selling it
it's
to
not a
anyone at
done
this
deal that
point.
we're getting rid of it.
Okay.
We're still in the process.
It's not been approved that I've seen, but I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
There is going to be someone speaking about the sewer
Tonight?
tonight, yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, I have some more questions, but I'll wait to the next meeting. Thanks. Thank you.
Tony, you have something to read, I guess?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had an email, public comment sent to me by email and by Dave Parsons of Edders. He asked that it be ready, couldn't make it tonight. He said, Board of Supervisors, Saturday, June 11th of 2022, my yard waste, the next door neighbors and short drive was not picked up. I did not drive through the township, but I'm sure there were others that were uncollected. I checked with the township website homepage, which stated it was scheduled for that Saturday. Excuse me. The last time yard waste was not picked up, I called Penn Waste, was told to put it out in the regular garbage pickup, and he told the customer service representative that defeats the purpose of having yard waste pickup. Monday, June 13th, 2022, he called Penn Waste. They were unaware of the situation, but did have more information. I asked the customer service representative to call me back, but he did not. He then and his neighbors spent time collecting yard waste and put it in bags of garbage cans to be picked up once a month. And he does not want the yard waste to be mixed with garbage, but he had put it out with his garbage. We used to have yard waste picked up on the second Saturday of each month from March to December. Penn Waste wanted the pickup date changed to the first Saturday of each month so they could collect Fairview and Newberry Townships on the same day. We accommodated them by agreeing to a schedule change, but they are not providing the service that each of us pays for. And is there a penalty clause that the township can invoke by not providing services? Monday, June 13th, email to Tony Miller about yard waste not being picked up. He responded with an email that the yard waste was picked up and there would not be a penalty and my email response was they must have missed Ridgeview Development, but thanks for contacting him. Wednesday, July 6th, he spoke to Yvonne, customer service rep, who had been employed there for 3 years. She told me that Brian and Sonia, whom I spoke last month, are no longer employed there, and I told her that the yard waste was not picked up again. I spent time getting it ready for pickup, but did not want to pick up with the garbage. I'm trying to be environmentally concerned. She told me that there were 10 call center employees, and now there are only 4 to answer calls. Also, supervisors are working on the routes. He asked for a credit on his bill for June and July since he did not receive service for yard waste pickup, but she did not have permission to do so. He left a voicemail for Tony Miller. Yard waste was not picked up. Tony sent an email that his was not picked up either, and he was told the route supervisor would pick it up. He put them on notice and will contact the solicitor with this repeated issue. Later that day, Joe Washa, contract manager, called. He stated he had heard my voicemail to Tony Miller about the yard waste not being picked up. He told me that the yard waste is trucked to H&H General Excavating, Spring Grove, recyclables to their Manchester location, and garbage to incinerator. I told him that Newberry Township accommodated him by changing our yard waste date in Fairview Township. He told me that was done because 4 trucks can pick up yard waste in township. He will contact the route supervisors to pick up my yard waste. I asked him about the credit, and he told me to inquire about it. Friday, July 8th, yard waste was picked up by Missy, the route supervisor, and I want to thank Tony Miller for contacting Joe Washak and helping to resolve the issue. Hopefully, there will be no further problems. Dave Parson, 200 Winding Hill Drive, Edders.
I think you went over your 5 minutes.
If I could add, I've been in contact over the last 2 months when they missed considerable yard waste, and I did speak to the solicitor about it and made him aware of it. And then the Joe Washak sent a corrective action. They've now hired, or at least appointed, a new route supervisor who actually lives in our township, and she's been fantastic about communicating. A lot of their problems have been what most people are having problems with: hiring staff or keeping staff and keeping drivers. And I made them aware that everybody realizes that, but not being responsive to the contract was not acceptable either. So so far, it looks like they're taking corrective action, and we're going to see how they do with the yard waste the next time. If they miss people again, I'll be contacting the solicitor.
Well, thanks for staying on that.
Okay. Heather Herzog? Oh. Randy Moats?
My name's Randy Moats. I live at 564 York Haven Road. I'm hearing about my lane. It's so dusty that something's got to be done. I mean, it's stuff they put down. This is the first load of stuff that they put in my lane. Car parts, metal, everything. They dumped in the lane. And I went around picking up. I got more than this.
When you say they, who are you referring to?
Huh?
When you say they, who are you referring to?
The neighbors, they got front loaders. Their truck brings this stuff in, and they dump it down at the dump, and they gather it up, bring it up, spread it all over the lane.
What's this address again?
564,
64 what?
564 York Haven Road. And this is the new stuff they put down. It's the same stuff as this, and you could take a magnet to it, and it'll pick up a lot of stuff. We're breathing this. This was in my eyes one day when a FedEx truck went through, but I was outside.
Are you talking about a private lane, or what are you
Yeah,
talking about?
private lane.
Okay.
We've been after this for a long time. And this is all metal. I could put that in there, pull all that out of
I'm
there.
guessing they're getting this from the ash company.
I don't know where they get it. All they do is dump it down there at a little dump, and the guys go down, the front loaders come up and start spreading it everywhere. And I keep hollering to people, slow down. My neighbor Judy, the other day her dog got killed. I had speed bumps up. Neighbor took them down. When he did that, an hour later, a car come flying down through. Her dog got killed. Yeah, something's got to be done.
Can you give me about where this is?
Right down below the Dollar General on the right-hand side.
On the, it's a real long lane that goes back and turns
Yeah.
to the left.
Yeah, down to the cul-de-sac, towards the creek.
I mean, what
Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about, okay.
What
The power lines
jurisdiction do
are
we
there
have
too,
on
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
none at all?
The only thing we can do is, I don't know, can you see about a dumping violation there, chief?
Well, the guy owns the property. There was a bunch of stuff dumped there years ago from people. He was using this stuff to cover it. It's his property.
You know, it's a private, it's
Yeah,
a
it's
private
private.
road. It's, Doug, is any action that we can technically do with this?
Like put
No-
signs up, under 10
None that under 10.
miles an hour
Yeah.
back the lane.
Yeah, see, when you have a private lane like that, the dispute you're describing is one between neighbors that the township really has very little it can do. I can talk with Marcus in codes enforcement that maybe, maybe there's some kind of property maintenance thing, if he can see it. I'm not saying there's nothing, but I am doubtful that the township has any authority to act, and that what I would encourage you to do, and this may not be an answer you like, but I would encourage you to contact an attorney and discuss with him or her what you can do as a private, not even enforcement, but a private civil matter against your neighbor, because it sounds like that's where the dispute is.
Well, I had the cops down there a few days ago. We got into it.
Okay, well, but I would encourage you to contact an attorney, and you'll be able to get some good advice on what to do.
Because this stuff they're bringing down, like that first load, parts of cars, aluminum, metal.
That has to be from the incinerator, I bet you any money.
I don't know, some guy comes down, dumps it down there, and one neighbor dumps it around his house to fill in for what he did. And he blacktopped it. And I scraped a lot of this real fine stuff off to the sides.
Yeah, that's where you're getting your ad. all
But
your
but
ads
it's still there, and I can't slow people down.
from. Just
Is
get-
there any ordinance on what you can and can't dump, material-wise?
Doesn't sound like clean building, which would be a DEP issue.
And that's why you're getting so much dust.
Because this stuff here is, we can't even open our windows. We're sat outside sometimes.
Because I know some companies use the ash, use
See
the
that?
ash from the incinerators for fill for roads, and it's not the
And I'm
proper way to do
breathing
it.
this, it was in my eyes one day. I had to
So-
wash them out.
So could he call DEP and have someone from DEP?
My suggestion would call, Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection.
If
Yeah,
they're
could-
doing, if that stuff is what you say it is, and I'm not saying it's
I'll
not,
give it to you, you can look at it.
I would like to see it, but if you contact DEP or someone, they will come out. They'll come out and investigate, and
I guarantee that's ash from the incinerator.
I now need this information, I'll contact them, I have to contact them.
Could you come in one day during the week and talk to Marcus?
Yeah.
And get the information to him, and he can give you the contact information for
I did put
DEP?
speed bumps up, just out of this stuff.
Right,
that
but,
people complained about.
right, but again, unfortunately, it's a private road. It's like going up here to the shopping center, and our hands are kind of tied as to
I know
what we
did
can do.
before, these meetings. But
Yeah.
now it just got worse.
Right, so. But yeah, stop up and see Marcus, and he'll give you some contact information, and
Yeah, I
like
just
Doug
gotta
said, get a hold of
Get
an
this stuff
attorney.
removed.
Yeah, well, like I said, stop and see Marcus during the week, and he can get you headed in the right direction.
All right,
If
Okay.
it's not dark before we leave, I'll swing down tonight and look at it.
all right. I guess I'm done, I guess.
Okay? Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks.
thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's not a whole lot we can do, but, our hands are kind of tied. But yeah, check with him, and he'll get you hooked up with the proper contacts, and like our attorney said, maybe you ought to contact an attorney and,
I don't want to start.
I understand. I understand. So, okay?
Because I got a lot of pictures of people going by, if you want to see them.
No, that's,
When this dust flies on you.
okay.
Do you guys have a joint maintenance agreement on that road?
I own my part, but everybody's got the right of way. Yeah,
So there's no maintenance agreement between every one of the property owners?
so,
And I'm assuming that, have you guys discussed this with the neighbors on trying to get something like that? I know.
They don't, when you put stones in, then they will come up and just break them back out.
I put a load of 2Ds in there. Spread it up, and I kept rolling them and rolling them. Well, one day they come up with a valve, out they went.
And then they want to buy this stuff, they want us to buy this stuff like $400 and stuff. I ain't buying that junk.
Yeah.
Well, there's some guy hauling it, I don't know who he is.
Yep.
A load of modifieds, only two something.
Yeah.
Was a couple months
Okay.
ago.
Jane? So, stop up and see Marcus. He'll try to help you
It's been
out.
a while since I signed a check for that one.
Jane?
Hi, Jane Harmon. I have a couple things. First, I want to start with, it was suggested by Maxine last meeting, and Diane got it together with the police chief, and we went over and we took a tour. Thank you for taking me on the tour. Thank you for the tour of the police building. It was an eye-opener, I'm going to say that. They are definitely crowded, and they definitely need a bigger space. I want to start with that. So thank you for the tour.
Why do I sense a butt coming?
Now, come on. We're still sticking with if the money doesn't come, we don't build. But
We're still sticking with it.
we're still sticking with it. But they definitely have outgrown that space. I was taken back by the quarters and how they work in there. Some things were, it was disappointing to see that they have a quarters like that they have to work in. I have to tell you that. So, okay.
I appreciate you sharing that with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate the tour. It was a huge eye-opener. There was things in there, and if you could take a tour, I'd say contact them and try to make a tour, and it'll open your eyes to what they do for our community, what they work with, and some state-of-the-art stuff that they have in there that's pretty awesome that I wasn't aware of. So, yes, I appreciate it.
And unfortunately, that to me is a major embarrassment when they bring police officers from other departments in there to have meetings.
Correct. If they had to bring someone in and handcuff them, you'd be appalled at how they have to do it. I will tell you that. So go take the tour. So, also, now on to my next business. Okay,
Thanks,
thank you for that. The sewer bills, they went out again. Okay, the third quarter. Several quarters ago, this happened to me. I never received my sewer bill. And so I paid the late fee. With the late fee, and I have never paid a late fee in my entire life on any bills, I wrote a little nasty note. So I talked to some of my other neighbors, and they're like, I never received it, and I got a late fee too. So we all called in. It got taken care of. They dropped the late fee, and I was told at that time that they take the postage to a certain post office, and they deliver it. Now, these are the postcards. So they're like third-class mail, I think it is. It's not your regular mail. So they wait on the backside, and then when they have time to put them in, the mail company will do it. So apparently, boxes and boxes of these were missing, and we didn't receive them, a lot of residents. So fast forward to this time. Well, that time, also after I called and complained, she had taken my email, and she said, well, we're going to start an email, and, you'll get a notice when they're due. We'll give you an email, but you'll still get your postcard. So a couple weeks ago, I received my email. So I'm like, okay, now I'm going to look for the postcard. Still to this date, I never received my postcard. So I paid it off of the email, but my concern is for, I take care of some elderly people, and they still didn't get their postcard. So they're going to be a late fee again. So you're having a problem with the mail getting to the people.
Unfortunately, we have to take those because the only bulk mail center is in Mechanicsburg.
Correct.
We can't mail them locally. It has to go to Mechanicsburg.
And I
for
heard the
bulk
person
mail.
that was handling that had retired, so it was somebody else that was doing it. So there's a mix-up. But my suggestion is, why can't, I know it's going to cost more, but why can't they go out first-class mail? And that would eliminate everybody from the late fees. I know you get a discount when you do it that way with the postcards, but why can't they be not in a postcard and a stamped bill like any other bill would come?
We can look into that.
Okay.
Do we have, does the bill come every time, at the same time, every quarter?
It comes every three.
Yeah,
It
every
comes
quarter.
4 times a year. So,
So if you know
Yeah.
what time it comes, so what's the,
hey, I know that, but I didn't get it. So if I don't get it, I'm not paying it. You know what I mean? I didn't see it. I don't write a little note. Hey, this month this bill's going to come in here exactly this date.
And the Postal Service has just been so
well,
great
if you've
the
been
last
doing that
couple
for the
of years.
past how many years, you expect the same way, I understand.
Correct.
Yeah.
So now I did it off, like I said, I got an email, but my elderly clients that I'm aware of, they don't have email. They don't have computers. And you ask them about that and they're like, no way. You know, they don't even have cell phones that do that. So we need to think of a way that's gonna better for our community, okay?
We'll look into it.
Okay, thanks.
Tony, you can check into what that.
Sure, I can certainly put together, I do want to mention that the township no longer sends those postcards, that we use diversified technology, which is the sewer system that we use for billing.
Okay.
They're mailing them, but they're still mailing the postcards. So I can definitely check with them. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more money, but if it's worth it, and the board can make a decision if they want to do first class instead of the postcards. The postcards just traditionally
They
been.
get lost.
I-
Jane,
Yeah, letters
I
get
sent a
lost
check to
too,
Leonard
but-
Brothers.
Pardon me?
I sent a check to Leonard Brothers in Lewisberry.
Uh-huh.
It took them 3 months to get it.
Wow, wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean, we've had trouble with first-class mail, too,
Okay.
to be honest.
Okay.
But, to further just define what happens is there's only certain post offices that take bulk mail.
I understand
So
that,
that's-
right, and you
we-
have to drive them up there.
Yeah,
and-
so, but
Right.
I just have to say the post office is out of our control, but we can certainly look at the first-class mail.
Okay.
We'll take a look at it.
All right,
And
thanks.
we're definitely waiving the late fees for people like that, right?
Yeah, if they can show that they never.
It
bought
sounds like it. I mean,
Yeah.
Laura's
Laura-
off, so she's not here tonight. She can't address it, but
Right, but if they don't call in and complain, and they just pay it like I did, but I wrote a little nasty note. So, and I'm embarrassed that I did it, but
Did you
I
put a
was
smiley
mad.
face with it?
Pardon me?
Did you put a smiley face?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I didn't. But she didn't take it off at that time until I called then she took it off. She goes, oh, I did get your note. I'm like, okay. Yes.
Oh, yes, it is.
That we instituted. This past year, we did institute ACH to automatically take the payments out of your account on a specific date. And letters went out, and hopefully everybody got one. We did a very large mailing to all residents that it would be automatically deducted from your checking account on a specific date, right around the time that the bill would be due. We had an overwhelming response to the people just because of the mail issue. And Tony couldn't have said it any better. We have payments to vendors that are being lost. We also have payments from residents being mailed to us that they say they mailed them, you know, and we know, like you said, they've always paid on time, but we just said it's a mail debacle both ways. So if you want to sign up for ACH, or any of the residents will be listening, we did have an overwhelming response, and it has worked very well for those people. So it's an automatic deduction. You don't even have to worry about the postcard coming or sending your payment in. Yeah, call Laura. Okay? Thank you.
thanks, Jane.
Thanks, Jane. Yeah. Jane and Jane. Okay, this might be directed to our police chief. Yoakumtown and Red Mill, since the light went up, the stop sign, excuse me, the new stop sign, can you tell me the accidents that are reportable, and has it helped? Okay. Okay.
Off the top of my head, I don't know if any of that's occurred there. Seems like since those have gone up, that's more active that, Old Trail Road in Yorktown. Not quite sure why.
They went down the road.
On hand, at least 6 in the last month there, not sure why.
Okay.
But Red Hill and Yorktown, I don't recall any.
Okay.
If there was some, it might have been, now it's going on.
Okay.
I can look into that.
Okay. Okay. I was just curious. I
Jane,
know
may
I
be able to
stopped.
Help with that question. I talked to a resident that lives at that intersection today. His name is Mr. Perkins.
Uh-huh.
And he said there has not been any accidents, and they're happy. There's a few neighbors that aren't so happy. I guess they're concerned for the winter.
Oh,
You know, what's gonna happen this winter.
right.
But I understand there's supposed to be a surface put down.
That's coming in the spring. Unfortunately, unfortunately, it's a cycle. They're doing Dauphin County this year. It's a PennDOT project.
Okay.
And it's a overlay type thing that they put down over top of the blacktop. And York County is scheduled for next year.
Okay.
And they did promise us that that intersection is going to be taken care of and probably in front of the Walmart going up the hill.
Okay.
And Scott did say he'll take care of that too in the wintertime.
And in the wintertime, we're just going to throw some extra salt in that
Because it's a state
neighborhood.
road, so we don't have to do it, but he's gonna get.
Oh, when you go by, you're gonna do. I think the grade on Red Mill going up onto Yoakumtown is a higher grade
It
than
is.
the other one. I
It
think
is.
because that's the one I always use because I don't like the Yoakumtown Road. So I think that's a worse grade. But all right,
Okay?
yeah, I think it'll be fine. I think it was a good move. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm still apprehensive when I pull out that they're gonna
so
stop.
am I. So am I.
I really won't pull out
Jane,
until I
heard
see
on
them
the radio
stop.
the other day, there was a wreck at Yoakumtown and Red Mill.
Yeah.
I was like, damn it. I called Steve, and it was down the road, somebody rolled through the grass.
Oh, thank God. Okay. My last thing. I went on to the general fund of bills paid for this month, okay? And I noticed on there two more for Lobar. And they come to a total of $237,560. And that was dated July 5th through the 10th. That's additional to the additional money that we already paid them up until June. We paid $208,159. So now we got to Lobar for the new building, $445,719.85. My concern is, what was this bill for? What are we still doing? The dirt is moved, so what would we be doing for the new additional $237,000?
That was for free dirt.
No, are you being silly with me right now?
No, that
'Cause-
was the,
That's-
that was for compacting the dirt, installing or purchasing the stormwater piping
The
and
drains that need to
boxes.
go in and stuff, yeah.
Okay, because back then in June, we paid the $150,298.99 for erosion and sediment control, is what that one was for.
I think the two separate ones is the one they had put all the manholes in, or drainage, I think is what it is.
So now the free dirt is the additional $237,560.06.
Well, it doesn't matter what dirt you get, you still
Okay.
gotta put the drainage in for the roads.
But last month when I questioned it, that's what I was told the other $208,000, well, the $150,000 was for the dirt to be moved. That's what I was told last month. Now you're telling me it's the
I'm just kind of top of my head, I'm thinking the extra
236,000.
thing was for all the drainage for the pond, I think is what it was. That was all put in.
This is all coming out of the general fund? Correct?
Yes.
All right, so we're almost at $500,000 on just Lobar for moving dirt and, well, actually for the contract too, for the building, but I just want to make you all aware of it. It's, next month I'll be looking again and I'll be telling you some more bills.
I think this will be it from them for a while, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they're,
Yep.
that's.
As far as we know,
that's
that's the end of
everyth-
it.
So when you were told that was for moving dirt,
Last month.
I don't know when that original invoice was from, but they just billed us for, it wasn't a mistruth. I mean, it was, all that was for moving dirt and installing pipes. The bulk of the last check was for pipes and inlet boxes.
Okay. So to the public, you can go on the website and look that out under the general fund. You can see what is being spent if you're interested in it. And I'd say, please jump on board. Thank you.
Yeah, Jane, you can go out and look, you'll see the drainage and stuff in the pipe all laying up there, so you know. All right?
Thank you.
But come up to here.
If that's coming all out of the general fund, what category is it coming out of? Because when I went through the budget, I didn't see any fund that was a capital reserve or capital improvement or anything like that. So all but whatever the amount is, 500,000 we've spent so far, is that going to be reimbursable when we get a grant or if we get a grant? But where's it
Yes.
coming out of in the meantime?
Isn't it coming from the CARES Act, or?
We were, if I could,
Go ahead.
so the grant is going to be for 50%.
So we have to match?
At least the RACP grant is 50%.
Okay.
The grant writer is also looking for other grants to help with the matching, but we are responsible for 50% match.
Mm-hmm.
So if we had spent some money so far,
That's
it could be
towards our
used as our match.
Okay.
And-
And where's that money coming from?
I mean, the checks are
I
paid
mean,
out
I
of
don't
the
see a
general
line
fund.
item in the budget that says capital reserves excess brought over from last year or anything where this money's coming from. And when I look at the budget, there's nothing there. So where exactly is it coming out of?
The checks are cut out of the general fund.
Exactly.
So.
So it's
that's-
in the general fund pocket of money.
If I'm not corrected by the comptroller, that's where it's coming from, right? Yeah. Yeah. That's the line item.
The contracted services line item. Okay, what was the excess at last year at the end of the year? Was that thrown into that fund, into that line item? Yeah, I tried to get them from DCED, the CLGS 30s, and they're not available yet. Right. So once they're finalized and they go to the state, to DCED, and their municipal statistics does their thing, we don't really know how much money was left and where that is in a separate line item that says capital construction or whatever.
No, because I don't want to drag this on for hours.
I'll be back.
Yeah, it could go on for hours. I'll be back.
Keegan White, I believe it is. You're listed here as wanting to speak.
Sorry, that was my mistake. I thought it was
Okay, nope, no problem.
Mr. Chairman, just a follow-up that Jane was getting ready to say, that should be on the agenda next month, the finalized audit, and they will be here to discuss it. And the DCED filings were already done, correct? Yes.
Okay, and I'm looking for a motion to add to the agenda an item to discuss dedicating the roads in the Highlands, all phases. We have to add it to the agenda. I'm looking for a motion to add that to the agenda so that we can do that further on down.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to add it.
I'm looking for a second to that motion.
I'll second.
We can, after public comment, add stuff to the agenda. Were they publicized, Tony?
It's a resolution to accept dedication. I think Doug can speak to this better than I can.
Yeah, these are adopted by resolution. We have the roads the process is that the roads get deeded. There are deeds of dedication when they're finished, and the developer has to provide a maintenance bond and meet some other criteria that, off the top of my head, I don't quite remember. But bottom line is, the developer was able to complete all of those requirements at the last minute. We just got the maintenance bond yesterday, but it's which is why the agenda is just being amended now. But it's to the township's benefit to get this finished so that the road can, so that the deed of dedication and the resolution, which the resolution itself doesn't need to be advertised, it's not like an ordinance, but in order for the resolution to get recorded with the county, that will then allow liquid fuels money to flow to the township. So it behooves us to get that done today so that there's time to get all of that completed by the end of August. Yeah, well, when we get there, we'll have, that comment will be made. I'm just explaining why it's being added to the agenda.
Okay, so, any more discussion on that? Looking for a second to that motion to add that to the agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Any more question or comment on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes for June 28, 2022 Board of Supervisors meeting.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes for June 28th.
Looking for a second?
I'll second it.
Any question or discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Land development and subdivision plan review. This is for Lexington Estates.
I don't think Jim's here tonight. I can kind of talk about what it is, if you
Okay.
want.
I mean, if Jim's not here,
Okay.
I don't think we really have to discuss it if the guy that wants it isn't here.
I suggest we table it.
Yeah.
Or deny it.
No, we just drop it because there's nobody here to discuss it.
He provided a letter in your packet requesting it. He couldn't make it. Your packet has a letter from him.
There is a letter for it? Okay. Bill?
So he has a letter. Lexington Estates, we're in the 6th phase of development up there. We have 5 phases completed. This is the 6th phase, and he was looking to construct under the preliminary plan for the 6th phase, because I guess his engineer's behind with regards to the final plan. And I guess my recommendation, I really don't think you want to set a precedence for completing the construction under the preliminary plan. In this case, yeah, I wouldn't recommend approving it.
Mr. Chairman, if I may just briefly elaborate?
Yes, sir.
The reason that this request has come to the board is because the Township Subdivision and Land Development Ordinance only allows work to be done under an approved final land development plan. It can be conditionally approved, but it has to be a final plan. This phase is currently only has an approved preliminary plan, and so it's contrary to the township's ordinance to allow this. However, the subdivision and land development provisions of the subdivision and land development ordinance may be waived by the board if the board believes there's good cause so to do. But it would be our recommendation as well that you deny this request and require the developer to go through the final land development process before, in other words, just follow the ordinance. That would be our recommendation as well.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion on this matter.
I'll make a motion, we don't approve it.
Looking for a second to that motion.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion on this? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, we're going to move on to reports. Chief, Public Safety Report.
Good evening, Board. Evening, residents. So we'll start with the police report. For the month of June, our department handled 1,024 calls. Listing those by criteria, we had 1 aggravated assault, 2 burglaries, 6 thefts, 1 drug offense, 15 DUIs, 1 simple assault, 4 sexual assaults, 4 domestic-related harassments, 7 other harassments, and 16 all other offenses. Additionally, they responded to 967 other calls for service, including 14 domestic-related incidents, 17 traffic accidents. They issued 77 citations, 143 warnings, 2 non-traffic citations, and made 21 misdemeanor and/or felony arrests. On the police department side, I want to, make sure everybody's aware of National Night Out is next Tuesday, August 2nd, from 6 to 9 at Babs Middle Speedway. I also want to thank Kevin Humbert, who had a motorcycle benefit ride back, I believe, on June 8th. From that ride, he donated a considerable amount of money to our nonprofit as well as the Newberry Township Fire Department, who also assisted in that event. On to public safety. You have the reports. The only thing I would like to add is on July 19th, the fire departments gave the Redland Youth Baseball team a ride throughout town after winning the Mid-Atlantic Regional. I believe they left tonight for Florida, and they had a send-off at 5:30. And to remind everybody that Newberry Township Fire Department has their bingos on August 5th and August 19th, and a chicken barbecue on August 20th. And York Haven Fire Department has crabs and chicken raffle on August 27th. Anyone have any questions for me?
I don't have anything. Anybody got anything for the chief? Thank you, sir.
Great day.
Doug, Solicitor's Report.
Obviously submitted a report. The action items are listed later under new business, so unless there are any specific questions, I'll just submit the report and then deal with the action items in new business.
Okay.
And go over this, I apologize, old business C is on as well.
Okay. Bill, you got anything under the engineer's report?
The only thing I have is under new business tonight. It's in the report.
Okay. Scott, you got anything to add to your report? Marcus, under zoning, do you have anything to add to your report? Brent isn't here tonight. Is there anything to add to the sewer report? Okay. Tony, you have anything under your report?
Just one thing, sir. The tax collector requested we make announcements tonight. We did put it on the Facebook and website. There's currently a 3-week backlog on posting of the fall school tax payments, and it's caused by an issue with the county's computer system. It's going to take about an additional 3 weeks to get caught up and current once the system is working again. So as soon as she can start posting payments, she'll be working to get them caught up and current as soon as she can. And she said thank you to the residents as we work through the Sheila Aisel.
Any questions for the manager? Jane, you got anything to add to your report? Under the supervisor's report, Claire, you got anything?
I did, but she spoke about it, the Yoakumtown Road ordeal.
Rob?
Yeah, I wanted to discuss this 5-minute meeting, 5-minute thing with the meetings. Like, did you guys, is that an ordinance, or how'd you guys come up with that?
That was a policy that was made.
At least 7 years
I
ago
was
or
gonna say
something.
it's a policy, it's been here.
I mean, I don't want to be here all night either, but I think cutting someone off in mid-sentence is not real, I don't know, it's not good for the public or relations.
Okay.
We do have a public participation policy that's posted. So, I mean, it's good to read that, but it is discretion of the board.
We didn't cut anybody off tonight, so.
No, I mean, well, we didn't cut anyone off, but was in Janelle, she had more to talk about and quit because of the, I mean, I realize we should have maybe some kind of limitation, but 5 minutes seems a little drastic.
Okay. Maxine, you got anything? Diane?
Yep, I do. We had a great meeting at Newbury Township, our fire department planning committee. They were kind enough to host us last month. August, we are going to forego having our monthly meeting and wait until September for the next one. So Newbury Township, thank you so much. You're a great host. We appreciate your time.
Was that here?
The next one will be here.
Yeah, the next one's here at the township building. Yep.
The date for September is September 14th. It'll be here at this facility.
Okay. Moving on to old business. Update on sewer exploitation process, or however you pronounce that fancy word.
All right, well, good evening. Just a brief update this evening from Garrett and myself regarding the sewer exploration process. So PFM was authorized to proceed with Phase 2, I guess that was last month. And Phase 2 of our service is to initially go out with a request for qualifications or an RFQ. So we had sent the RFQ out to a little over 100 recipients that we typically send the RFQs to for those kind of companies or teams that are interested in potentially learning more about this exploration that the township is going through. We got proposals, or we got RFQ responses back. So this has nothing, this is not bidding it out or anything, this is just seeing who could potentially be interested in the process. We received those responses from 4 different bidders last Monday. All 4 were very qualified from an operating standpoint, from a financial standpoint. And so we would recommend going forward and basically shortlisting or pre-qualifying those 4 bidders or those 4 firms that submitted their RFQ responses so they can continue to learn more about the system and we can kind of keep the process going and keep you updated. So kind of a lot transpired in the last month. The RFQ was kind of a big deal to get that out and to get those responses back. Those companies had to put in a lot of time and effort with those responses. So again, we were pleased to see the 4 responses come in, and if you decide to shortlist those, and we'll continue that process with those 4. Again, anytime throughout the process, you could deem to eliminate or terminate their participation in the process, basically for any reason. So that's always at your right to do that. This is, again, not obligating the township in any way, shape, or form to sell the system or to move forward with any one of those bidders. This is simply just allowing them more time to learn more about the system and for us to continue the process. Any questions?
No. Doug, do we need to do anything here at this point?
I believe it would be.
You need to push the, there you go.
I believe it would be appropriate for there to be a vote of direction to PFM to qualify the 4 respondents to continue the process.
It's under new business.
Oh, that's under new business, okay. All right. Guess you might as well stay up there because you're up next. This is report on financing proposals.
All right, very good. So we do have extra copies of the handout here at the front table. But back in, I guess it was earlier this month, we moved forward with an RFP, request for proposals, for a potential $4 million financing for the township's capital project. So we sent out the RFP, again, for this $4 million 20-year loan to probably about 24 or so different financial institutions. The township already had one response in hand from its local bank here. We received those responses back last Monday, and so this handout had kind of quite a few pages, but we'll just focus on basically 2 of the pages. Pages 4 summarizes the 5 different responses that we got from 5 different lending institutions. You see Webster Bank, Capital One Bank, York Traditions, C&N Bank, and TD Bank. Based on the kind of different aspects of the loan proposals, whether it's the fixed rate or the prepayment penalty or prepayment option, any of the fees related to it, our recommendation would be to move forward with the Webster Bank proposal that has a fixed rate for the full term of a 3.47%. And on page 5, that basically equates to, when we compare the other the main financing alternatives, which again were good proposals that were received from York Traditions Bank, and then we also compared that to bond issue on page 5. There's several $100,000 of advantage to the township and to the taxpayers here of going forward with the Webster Bank loan proposal. And so I think there is a item on the agenda to move forward with the authorization of advertisement for an ordinance for your August meeting to proceed with drafting the ordinance reflecting the proposal from Webster Bank. So happy to answer any questions you have regarding the RFP process and the responses that we
And just to share with everyone, this proposal of $4 million is our match we have to come up with for the new building.
Yes, good clarification. The loan request is for $4 million, yes.
If we don't use it, it's, we haven't made a commitment because at this point we have stopped all building. And when it starts, we don't know what that cost difference will be.
Our intent is not to spend $8 million on the building if that's not the intent of why we're borrowing $4 million.
That's correct, it's not.
And we cover the rest of that under new business, correct, Tony?
The advertising of the ordinance.
All right.
You have the ability, so there's a 5-year call feature on this loan with Webster Bank, which means after 5 years, the loan can totally be wiped out. If you have money in hand prior to those 5 years and you want to prepay it, we basically put that money in an escrow until the call date, and it's an interest-bearing escrow that will help kind of reduce the cost to pay down that loan for prepayment. 20 years. Yes, there's a handout.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Okay, next under old business, I'm looking for a motion to adopt the codification ordinance 418 that was advertised.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, just for the purpose, or for the benefit of the public, as you know, the codification process has been ongoing, and what this does, is happening tonight, the ordinance was advertised, and the ordinance calls for the official codification of the township ordinances, which will greatly improve their availability and searchability for both the code enforcement side, but also for the public use and the use of contractors and things that do business in the township. So we're at that final stage. This is the final step of completing the codification of the ordinances.
Okay, still looking for a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance number 418.
Looking for a second?
I'll second that.
Any more questions or comments on that? Everybody in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on to new business. I'm looking for a motion to approve the advertisement of the ordinance for fire prevention, safety to include Knox boxes, hydrant placements, house addresses, and fire lanes within the township. And I think there's a couple other things in that ordinance. Basically, the Knox box is a box that's attached to a business that can be accessed by fire department and or police department in case of an emergency, that, like a fire alarm going off or something like that. York County Control has the ability, and I may mess this up, but I'll try my best, to unlock something on the fire truck that gives them access, or a police car that gives them access to a key that's attached in these Knox boxes so that they can gain entrance into a building where there's a possible emergency. This also addresses where hydrants are placed, whether it's an existing, where they're replacing new water lines. This tells them where they're to put the fire hydrants, and also so that the police department can enforce our fire lanes, because we have nothing covering that right now. So I'm looking for that motion.
I'll make a
Yeah. Instead of an address on the front door of a house that's this big and they can't see it, something, I believe it says, what, 5-inch letters or something. I have to,
So this is the ordinance gonna be like enforced, like you're gonna get fined if you don't obey by it?
oh, you know, probably.
I mean, it's for your own safety to have
I already
your.
have my house marked, I was just wondering.
Yes, yeah.
Anybody's-
But, you know, I mean, if,
It's vague, so that's why I wanna know what it is.
that's what it is. That way, you know, at 2:30 in the morning, when that guy back there in the back's driving down the street trying to find your house address because you're having some sort of an emergency at your home, and it's not posted somewhere where he can find it, driving down the street, they're out there riding around trying to find your address, or the police department has an emergency there or something. It's an ordinance that most communities in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania have.
And who enforces it?
This is enforced by our codes enforcement officer and the police department.
Marcus, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't most new builds are required to have that as part of their occupancy permit? I was required to put it at my house for it, I don't know.
So,
Actually, you know what, we do have a ordinance for markers, for house markers. So this is gonna replace it.
So it's different than that.
It's the same, but it's just incorporated in this, fire protection.
Okay.
Many years ago, the fire department was selling them, I think it was in the building.
Yeah, I remember,
They
yeah.
suggest that you, when you read this ordinance, you might make that available and be able to doing it again.
okay, well, tonight, we're just advertising. We're not making the ordinance tonight, we're just advertising it. Yes, okay? So I'm looking for a motion to advertise this ordinance.
I would like to make a motion that we approve advertisement of ordinance for fire prevention and safety to include Knox boxes, hydrant placements, house addresses, and fire lanes.
Looking for a second.
I'll second it.
Any more questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're gonna have to do an advertisement for the proposed amended MS4 ordinance, and Bill, can you
Yeah,
discuss that?
so under
before
your
we do?
current MS4 permit, which is your township-wide stormwater permit, This 5-year term, we're required to adopt a new stormwater ordinance as a part of that. I think it was by September 30th of 2022. So there's a model ordinance that we'll be looking at and we'll need to adopt here by the end of September.
And we have to adopt it as per their draft?
So they have a model, and then we're going to take that along with our current ordinance and kind of combine the two. And there will be things that in that model ordinance that we can select, different things that we can choose, yeah.
How long is that paper-wise, like page-wise?
35 pages maybe, it's a guess, in that area.
All right. I'd just like to have a copy of
Mhm.
what they're proposing.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to do that advertisement.
I'll make a motion to advertise proposed amended MS4.
Looking for a second.
I'll second that motion.
Any more discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? I'm looking for to approve the advertisement to amend E-Code Chapter 367-45, parking violations and penalties. We're going to raise our parking tickets to match other local municipalities up to $35, and can be assessed up to $100 if it goes before the district justice. Currently, we now get $5 for a parking ticket, and a lot of people it's cheaper to just pay the ticket than it is to deal with it. So I'm looking for a motion to advertise that ordinance to raise our parking fines.
Where do we, just a question, or we can do it under discussion, I guess, but.
Well, go ahead.
Chief, where are the parking fines at? Like, do we have a lot of parking fines? I'm just curious where they're at. Yeah.
Yeah, if you would.
We have a lot of residents that call primarily in townhouse complexes or alongside the golf course where you can only park on one side of the road. That's where we would primarily put parking tickets. However, when we go out there, we put a $5 parking ticket on there. You can't park in the city for $5. Most people know that they're going to get a $5 ticket and they'll stay there all day, which does not help the individual who lives on that street that needs that vehicle moved. With that new ordinance, it also allows us to put parking tickets in people that are parked in fire lanes. So, and that's even on private property. Currently at the Commons, up there by USANI, the UPS store, for years, people have been pulling in there, parking to go get something to eat for, half hour, 45 minutes. We didn't have an ordinance or anything that had teeth that allow us to put a parking ticket on that. With that new ordinance that was just, approved to be advertised, that would allow us to get parking tickets. It would give us the ability to hopefully correct some issues with that residents are calling about that right now we don't have that ability, or when we do, we put a $5 ticket on it and they pretty much laugh at it and still park there the next day.
We're going to be needing to put signs and stuff up, or is that not an issue?
No, most of the areas already have signage on it. It's just a matter of, when we get called out to an area like the townhouses where, someone's having a barbecue or whatever, and they decide that they're going to park a whole along the street and park 4 or 5 different residences in, so they can't get out of their house to go to the grocery store or get their medicine. And the only thing we can do is put a $5 parking ticket on it, which doesn't make the individual's car that's blocked in very happy. And when those individuals receive a parking ticket, they come out and see it, well, like, I got a $5 parking ticket, I might as well just stay here. Like, there's really nothing that we can do. Both the other boroughs that we patrol increase their parking tickets to $35. 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. We don't go out and issue those every day. We only issue them when we have an issue, brought to our attention that there's a parking problem. It's not like, I don't have the manpower to send people throughout neighborhoods just to put parking tickets on people's cars. It's just not possible. You heard the numbers of the amount of calls that we deal with in a month, and we don't have the time to specifically go out and enforce parking unless we're called upon.
No, I was just curious because I was trying to, in my head, think how many parking tickets we write a month. But that clears it up for me. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to do that advertisement.
I'll make a motion, we advertise that.
Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Any more questions or comments on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Looking for a motion to approve Resolution 2022-19, LSA grant submission for, Tony, help me with this. Okay, all right, okay.
This is for a new grant submission to get, to help with the new building.
Okay. Okay, I'm looking for that motion.
That's the grant writer.
This is for the grant writer. They need they need an updated resolution for this year because they have to have one every time they do a submission.
It's a resolution, doesn't need to be advertised, ma'am. And the resolution gives the township manager the power to act on the grant, is what it does. And it's the Local Share Act, LSA, is from the gaming funds, is where that comes from.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion to accept Resolution 2022-19 LSA grant submission.
Looking for a second?
I'll second it.
Any more questions or comments on this? Everybody in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, I'm looking for a motion to approve PFM to include all of the selected potential bidders for the sewer proposal. Huh? Oh, did I missed one? Oh. Okay, yeah, I'm looking for a motion to approve the advertisement of the ordinance for the financing of the municipal emergency service building to incur debt. Yeah, I did. For missing it the first time.
I'll make a motion to approve advertisement of ordinance for financing
Well, no debt yet.
for the municipal building to incur debt.
Looking for a second on that motion.
I'll second.
Questions, concerns?
It's so we can borrow money for our half to build the building is what it's for.
The match.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
That's correct.
For the,
This is
for the
for the
loan
matching
that he
fund.
For
just
the loan
talked
we were
about.
discussing earlier.
Okay.
Any more questions or concerns?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just, and if you could include in the motion, I would encourage the motion to include that this is to advertise an ordinance for the award of the incurrence of debt to Webster Bank. Again, so the public understands, this is not approving the debt, this is not approving the borrowing, this is approving the advertisement that if the award, or if the board, after the advertisement so decides, that it would be to award the borrowing or the financing through Webster Bank. But I would just ask, I would suggest that that be part of the motion.
Can you make that part of your motion?
I will make that part of my motion. Do you want me to repeat it? Approve advertisement for ordinance for financing the emergency building to incur debt to Webster Bank.
Yep. Who seconded that? You second what she said?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any more questions or concerns? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now looking for a motion to approve PFM to include all the selected potential bidders for the sewer proposals.
I'll make a motion to approve PFM to include all or selected potential bidders for the sewer proposals.
Looking for a second?
I'll second that.
Questions or concerns? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I'm looking for a motion to approve Resolution 2022-20 for the dedication of the roads in all phases of the Highlands development. This is the piece that we added earlier in the agenda.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-20, dedication of roads in all phases of Highlands.
I'm looking for a second.
I'll second.
Bill, any questions or concerns on this?
We did complete all the inspections. We received the as-built, and so we're ready for dedication at this point.
Any more questions or concerns?
Mr. Chairman, if I just may briefly, this is, the streets in question are Crabapple Drive, Lark Drive, Shalimar Drive, and Sugar Drive. And again, this is the official process by which the completed improvements having been done in the Highlands, the township is now, this is the formal process for the township to adopt those streets.
Any more questions or concerns? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Looking for a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make a motion that we pay the bills.
Looking for a second to pay the bills.
I second it.
Any questions or concerns about paying the bills? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, Chief, you got something?
I just wanted to provide Supervisor the answer. There was 2 parking tickets issued last month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, cost us 200 to get it, but yeah. All right, now I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Looking for a second.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions or concerns about that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're adjourned.